Off they go, bags in tow. Matt and Chrissy hit the road. Maps unfold, stories told. Adventures never getting old. Matt and Chrissy roam so free through the city, past the sea, finding joy in every mile.
G'day, g'day.
Hello.
Wow.
Well, we're about a week in.
Well, is it a week already?
Well, it kind of is, yeah.
Far out. Well, we've got a fair bit done.
We
So what are
have.
we pointing out that's really important right now?
Right now, inspection hatches. So we did touch on the one at the front, which is for the fuel filter, and we found another area which we wanted to bring to your attention. Down the back here is we've created a little inspection hatch for
Spare tyre.
a spare tyre.
In fact, I'm going to bring the camera over so you can actually see this. Let me come for a walk and get you. Come with me. No, come with me. Now, let's do this. Right. For all you disobedient YouTube children out there, let's spin this camera around so you can see what's going on. All right, Chrissy.
So Matt's done a great job and created a
Ooh.
little tongue here so that we can just push in there and it pops up nice and easy. That then gives us access to the bolt.
Look at that.
We really don't want to have to pull up the entire floor just to get to the spare tyre in the event that we have a flat,
No,
especially out in the outback. Can you just imagine? My goodness.
that would be problematic.
That would be difficult.
Yeah.
Why is that not going back?
Oh, it's a bit fiddly to get back on. You'll figure it out.
I'll
So,
figure it out.
one of the other things that we worked on yesterday, let me just sneak up here. So, we were talking about laminating the floor and bringing it up so that it covers the rise that we've got here as far as the engine goes. And what we've done is we've bulked up underneath in these sections across here. That's all been bulked up under there. And then we've used PVA glue and we've put some 2mm marine ply down over the top. Now the screws that you can see here are only temporary. They'll be coming out today and that glue should have adhered so that we can then sand this edge back so that it's seamless. We'll probably sand back by about 5 or 7 centimetres just to really taper that up, and then we'll backfill all of those screw holes with putty, sand that back, and then we're going to get ready to lay the vinyl.
So while we're at it, I'm going to show you what Matt has done for our fuel filter inspection cap.
All right, let me spin the camera around again for that one then. It's dark in here. It's winter in Brisbane. It's bloody cold.
Anyone from the southern parts of Australia or New Zealand would be laughing at us right now because we're considering 20 degrees cold.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to business. This is the cap for our fuel inspection cap, which is over there. And Matt has installed a nice little handle here to make it easier for us. We will put a laminate on there to match the rest of our floor, and that will just slide in there nice and simple. And then if we need it,
How's it go?
easy peasy.
Okay, Cool. So what's one of the other things that we've taken into consideration as far as the build goes and the positioning of that handle?
Yes, so what Matt is referring to is basically where I'm standing right now. This is going to be the top end of the bed, so our heads will be here essentially, which means that there's going to be a slight overhang. Underneath our bed there will be drawers, which will sit probably about here.
So probably 10 millimeters back from the lip of that inspection hatch. Yep.
Yeah. And then that will give us the space to get access, but we're not going to be, there's no foot traffic in this location, so that rise is not going to impinge on us stepping on it. The only thing we will need to bear in mind, which should be taken into consideration with the plywood underneath the drawer, is that little rise. We'll just have to make sure that the drawer is high enough when we're opening it, and that the drawer front doesn't catch on it every time we go to open that drawer.
Should be all right.
I don't think we'll have any issues, but it's just something to consider when we get to that point. We have screwed down the floor through the timber into the parts of the metal that rise up, so that, because there's a little bit of a gap underneath. And we've also used a piece of metal similar to what we've got back there to brace these two pieces of wood together and make sure that they're at the same level. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of putty on there. We'll have to sand that back. It's now ready to do that. It's nice and cured.
So what we did there was we recessed those, I think they're called repair joiners. So they were put in because there was a little bit of flex between the two pieces of timber that Chrissy was just talking about. And they've been screwed down, and then we've completely puttied over the top, so that when we sand them, it's going to be a pretty much invisible seal.
We've done quite a bit in a week. We've almost finished all the insulation. We're just waiting for another roll so that we can do the roof, some of the door, and the back panel. And we've got this.
And also inside there.
And inside that space. And that's pretty much all of the insulation finished. We were talking about picking up the vinyl or lino, depending on what make, model, brand, wherever you come from, either today or tomorrow. There's still more research to do on the solar. The solar is probably a little bit more challenging than I expected. I thought it would be a lot more straightforward than it has been.
So, what are we up to? We are at the stage where we're ready to sand that bit of ply back, get the floor prepped for the vinyl or the lino to go down.
Yes. You were explaining about the recessed metal pieces.
Yeah, they'll be sanded back down so they're virtually an invisible seam. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Flooring will go straight over the top of that, and then the solar. The solar's probably been the biggest. I don't know if I'd say challenge, but we've looked at quite a few different setups and different companies. We've had a look at King's, and their systems seem to be pretty straightforward as plug and play and pretty easy to install. But the only challenge I think that we'll have with it is that, based on the conversations we've had, the salespeople who are the super centre that we went to said that we wouldn't really be able to run the setup the way that we've discussed it and planned to with how their system works. However, the solar installers that we've spoken to at 2 or 3 other places have said, yep, that won't be a problem. Keeping in mind too that they're electricians, they're not just people who've transferred into a sales position and they're product experts, they're actually trade experts. So
King's products predominantly are DIY. So if you're happy with a low cost solution for a plug and play, then that is a great option. However, you run the risk of getting a subpar quality, and it only has a 12-month warranty. So you're potentially got a $3,000 outlay, which compared to other solar, is relatively cheap. But if you're having to replace it every, let's say,
5
2
years.
years, it's going to end up being significantly more expensive. So we're thinking more about the longevity as well as the cost.
Yeah, and look, their solar panels at the moment, their current stock, it maxes out with the fixed panels at 160, where we were looking at other setups where it was 200 they were looking at putting up there per panel. That is something that they are bringing out soon once they've sold all of their 160 stock out, and then there'll be new solar setups coming. The new solar setups we've been told very little about, but again, I'm not really confident that they'll be able to do what we need to. With what we're planning on doing, the staff at the 4-wheel drive super centre had said, look, the amount of power you're looking at pushing back from the panels through the inverter or through the DC to DC into the batteries, you'll probably find that the inverter's going to get really hot. It'll be working at its maximum. I may be getting this completely wrong as far as like which way things go, because first time solar install, first time looking at this. But what they've said basically is that parts of it are going to get really hot, and we may end up cooking different components with what we're planning on installing and doing. The recommendation or the conversation was then down the lines of having 2 inverters and 2 DC to DCs, and then running 1 panel to 1 battery and another 2 panels to another battery as an example, and just splitting the system completely. But by the time you do that,
you're doubling your costs anyway, so you're already at $6,000 minimum.
You're close. You're really close. You're probably not quite there, but you're really close.
You might as well just spend an extra couple of grand, get a professional who's going to install a good quality system and who can make sure that you've got the plugs to be able to plug in at a caravan park if that's what you want to do.
And that's what we're after.
Yeah. So that's sort of where we're at with that. We have found that trying to find someone who specializes in this has been a little bit more challenging than I expected. We went to about half a dozen places and only 2 offered that.
RV caravan solar installs. Most of them are really focused on domestics. There's a bigger market for it.
There is, yes. And I mean, there's probably a lot more opportunities around the country. We're just looking in Brisbane at the moment. I know that there is a place down in Sunny Coast that does it. In Gold Coast that does it. There's likely to be one in Sunny Coast. It's another large regional area for Queensland. So, yes, more research to be done. We have a much better plan now as well. So when we did go to meet with people last weekend, they said to us, we really need a schematic, a plan of how you're planning to lay out your caravan or camper. And so now that we have a better picture as to what that looks like, we'll be able to send that information off to them and they'll be able to give us a good idea on what it's going to cost.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we are going to start pulling the screws out and I'm going to start sanding that board back. Stay tuned.